Good evening and welcome.
Not yet. Right, I'll do a bit of sharing.
All right, sharing's caring, innit, and all that.
Well, yeah, apparently.
Sharing, yeah.
I'm sharing my house. Does that count?
Well, I know what we've been talking about. That's entirely up to you whether you want to share it or not, Ian. But
well, it's my house, so no confidentiality there, is there?
No, like I've said, it's entirely up to you. I mean, tonight, what I'd suggested, and because it's just a chat, basically. We've got guests next week, but this week on both of the shows, we've decided just to do a little chat. I mean, Friday we did question and answers, but today, for once, we're actually going to talk about what we actually do, what we like to do, where we go, what happens when we're there, and things like that. And as it turns out,
I don't have to go anywhere. Yeah, I know.
Exactly. Our co-host is getting activity, so we may share it, we may not. It's entirely up to Ian whether he wants to share that with you or not. But we'll crack on and talk about various happenings in the paranormal world. I mean, for me personally, since the what can we say? We've got to be careful what we say, haven't we? Because there's a lot of people don't like the terms and this, that, and other. But yeah, since we've had problems socially, that was very diplomatic, weren't it?
Yeah.
We've had to start.
Since I was allowed to go to work and no one else was. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was working security at the time as well. I was working in various places, including Leeds train station, but because there wasn't any concerts happening. But it actually helped with what I do, because there's a lot of locations on security where you're allowed access to certain areas that would normally be out of bounds. And Leeds train station, for example, has got an underground, and it's mainly watery. There's an old granary below it. So that was really nice to investigate during my off hours, shall we say, when I were on my break. Very interesting place. Some of it is purposely flooded to stop you entering, because the granary is literally smack underneath all the train tracks and platforms, which you would expect with the weight that's above it. That wouldn't be the case. It'd be off to one side or at least or something like that. But no, it's smack underneath. Interesting place. But yeah, due to all the things that's gone off, as I say, I started to do churches and chapels and the like, because access to a lot of other places you just couldn't get. Everything was locked down tight. So, and I've done it ever since, because the people that frequent my group and my page, which I have, a lot of people that's watching these blogs and shows probably don't realize that we have actually got pages and paranormal groups ourselves, but we have. So me and my partner Natty, we go out and do these places, investigate. And sometimes we get some, and sometimes we don't. But there's a lot of things on my page that people haven't seen because I don't share. I'm not a share page, I'm not a share group. So if you want to see activity that I've caught, I can't give you a snippet because I don't know how to do that. I'm not a techie. But I think that we may have a picture just as an appetizer to show you what sort of things I capture.
I do.
I don't know if you can play that one.
I'd have to sort it out. Take me ages because it's dead before.
You'll be seeing it for the first time as well, Ian. But this is the type of thing that I do. Do you want to mention, Ian, what the type of thing that you do more than anything? I know because you work longer hours than I used to, and when you have got your free time, you do private investigations. Not that I don't, but you do them more than I do. So if you want to enlighten people.
Yeah, pretty much. My team, we go in, we get called into people's houses who are experiencing, what should I say, possible paranormal activity. I have to say that because not everything is, but yeah, well, I'd say 9 times out of 10, pretty much, as they usually don't get us in until the proverbial SH hits the fan. Usually it is paranormal. And we basically go in, try to find out who it is, why they're there, and hopefully we get a result to the situation, which so far has been the case. Although we do have a couple of cases that the children in the house are sensitive, so until they're at an age where we can assist them in learning to control it, we're going to have to keep going back and dealing with stuff that they bring into the house. But that's mostly what we do. And then I will go on public events with members of the team, and we'll do as a busman's holiday, shall we say, where we're basically out for a bit of fun, investigate some well-known places, and we don't have to work at the end of the day for it. So
Yeah, it's brilliant. And Natty,
We don't have anybody in, and it's 7 minutes past. We've been abandoned.
Nobody's in. That's a first. That is a first.
it is.
That's a
Not
first. Don't worry about it.
Are you sure you've advertised, Nettie?
Oh yeah. Everywhere.
Yeah. Well, they'll get us on catch up.
Not to worry.
Hey, here's William.
William. Hello, William.
Good evening, William.
So, at least we're talking to someone now.
He's got his all to himself.
I'll try and get that picture up.
Yeah, I can't believe Eric's not there. What's he doing? Is he guesting somewhere? Must be guesting somewhere. But yeah, so do you want to mention where you started and we know where you've ended up. You've ended up at side of me, but and investigating churches and what have you. But where did you start, Nettie?
Me? Well, basically, really, I did a lot of home first. And then I started to, it's only about 2 years ago, I started to go out and do it. But I've done a fair few churches with you. There's a couple of places I've been to that have been really interesting, and I will be going back to. On the outside of doing stuff. I mean, there is definitely one place that I want to go back to where I got grabbed at the back of the neck. Because I call that worth going back for.
Yeah, you're like me.
Yeah.
Bit of a sadist when it comes to the paranormal.
Yeah.
Yeah, if something attacks you, I've got to go back there.
Well, you've got to find out what it was for the cheek of it, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, you do. This is where the sad part of it comes in, as I said, because I don't do paid venues. I've never done one, and I don't intend to start.
No.
But I have done a lot of places, especially abandoned air bases and the like. So one of my favourites is Bimbrook, RAF Bimbrook. There's a lot of activity there, a lot. And again, unfortunately, you'll have to join me group to see all my stuff, but it is on there, and there's a particular piece in one of the investigations I did at Bimbrook. I'm pointing my camera down these stairs, and there's a definite figure coming up the stairs. So, and you can see a shoulder, an arm, and a leg. The legs coming up like that upstairs. It's all shadow work, obviously. It's like a misty figure, but it's there. It's what I get. But a lot of the times, I mean, I'm quite sensitive. I can sense when there's things going off, and I did sense it, but I didn't see it with my own eyes. It was the camera that picked it up, and sometimes it's vice versa, as we were talking here before we went live. So, you know, it's hit and miss. Is this paranormal world? So this is why it's such a big field, and this is why it's so mysterious, and it's also why there's believers and non-believers, because out of every 10 investigations that you do, you might get one, if you're lucky, that there's results from, because you can't pin spirit down. It's like sitting there and trying to get a pet to perform a particular trick.
Yeah.
Unless they're in that mood, they ain't going to do it. So you can record forever and a day. And then one day, when you decide to get up and have a snack, it does it.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's what I would liken it to, because you can't make them perform when you want them to perform. And it's all guesswork, isn't it? It's all guesswork. You could go every day a week, and the day you don't go, it's all kicking off. They decide to have a party.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
generally the way it goes, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
There's not a lot you can do. There's not a lot you can do about it, is there?
No. Did you say, Nettie, that you couldn't show that picture?
I'm trying to get it up now.
All right.
I'm just trying to sort it out. As soon as I sorted it out, I'll put it up.
Right. Okay. No problem. But yeah, I've been to quite a few places where there's a lot of activity. But again, there's also a lot of times I've been to exactly the same place, and it's been idyllic and calm and nothing happening. This, if Nettie can get the picture up, is from a little chapel that's in middle of a field. But unless you know the history, which I didn't when I first started going there, I knew nothing about it. It was just somebody that showed me the place, and I got an immediate vibe from it. I thought, this is a lovely, idyllic place. It's just a little chapel, little church in the middle of a field, and it's open 24/7. But what it does, what you don't realise, is it featured in the middle of a battle, of the War of the Roses. So it kept swapping hands as well. One force would take it and use it as a bivvy and what have you, and a makeshift hospital, and then the other side would attack and take it. So it's seen a lot of activity.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, you don't get much of that activity in there. The activity comes from past parishioners and clergy. Make what you will of the picture, if she can sort it.
Yeah, trying to sort it.
But
Being a pain in the, believe me, everything's been a pain in the neck.
it was an experiment I was doing, and I positioned my torch, which is a decent powered LED torch, on the end of a pew, and I was blowing my vape to make a smoke stream, and then the other host of mine was taking pictures, and I was taking pictures, and some of the things, they were lovely. They looked lovely, spiral smoke stacks and this, that, until then all of a sudden I got this face come through the smoke. Literally, it pushed its face through smoke, and it's so precise. You can't mistake it for anything else but a face. Which I thought I just went, whoa! Did you see that? And yeah, but we got it on evidence, as I said, because It's in a picture. And nothing else did. That's the thing about it. There were lovely little spirals and this, that, and t'other. They looked nice, but nothing jumped out like that did. Literally, it pushed its face through, so you couldn't miss it. And it's when things like that happen, it makes you feel giddy sometimes. Plus, the place itself has got a lot of history, as I say, but there's little things in there that you wouldn't expect to be in. I mean, Nettie, there's a particular gravestone that's up near Altar, and Nettie's taken back by it. She's going to do some research into it because it's like a Celtic cross, but it's on a gravestone and it's laid down. It's flat to the floor. You've got to walk on it to get to Altar. But the spirits in there as well. You get shadow figures, you get orbs. There is all sorts. On some days, it's all that. That's all you're getting. Every 10 seconds, there's something. And then other nights, nothing. Not a cracker. And it can be a very similar night as well. It could be calm. The place, because there's no electric to it whatsoever as well, which is a good thing because it doesn't interfere with equipment if people's using equipment. But there's a what they call it now, a collection box. It's a poor box. It's classed as a poor box, and people collected in there and got shared out as like arms at end of year type of thing or at a holiday. That's well guarded by one of the clergy, and he protects women as well. But again, sometimes he's there, sometimes he isn't. Maybe he had other churches like they do today. But we've done a lot of places. The latest one is near Doncaster. I'm not going to tell you the name of it or all because we've got to go back. Because there is something untoward with that place. Looks lovely from outside. That one again, it's I can't explain it. It's just not loved at all. It's unloved. It's not being used for years. It's literally, but it's open, which is a rarity. It's open, but it's not used. It's weird. But there's a definite atmosphere in there, and it's not pleasant. So we've got to go back and find out what it is.
Yeah. No, not letting me even get it on.
Nettie's not been the same since we went.
No, I haven't. No, I haven't, to be honest with you. I've had nosebleeds.
Yeah. But there's all sorts, all the way around. Well, I'm saying all the way around it. We didn't go around the far side, but 3/4 of it, there's plants that you wouldn't normally see that's growing upside of this church wall, and they've been put in on purpose.
Yeah.
But the plants there, the protective plants. There's things like fennel and things like that, which are used in cleansing, a bit like sage, by a lot of witch people will use fennel. And other plants, there's nicotiana and all sorts. I mean, yeah, fine, that's a flower, but to see where it is, it's a bit significant. And then right front, there is a little picket fence. Not out of ordinary there, you would think.
Yeah.
Except the fact that it's made from hazel, which is not a plant you would associate with building picket fences. No. But it is well known by another group of people, yet again. So we think that there's something going on, and we've got to investigate it. So stay tuned for that one. It'll be good.
Oh, yeah, definitely going to go back.
But yeah, other than that, we do quite a bit. I mean, I first started in field. I've always been sensitive. You've heard me stories before from being a child. I've seen spirit, but tried to dismiss it. And it weren't until later on in life that I went back to it. But I didn't intend to go back to it. How I did. I went into a shop to inquire about an Halloween event to take my kids to. It was a little Halloween walk. and the lady in the shop, because it was a holistic therapy shop, but I've been told that she were organising this walk. So I went in and she says, "You've got healing hands. Can I train you?" So from that, I learned holistic therapies, aromatherapy, crystals, herbs, massage therapy, Reiki, and tarot. So I'm a well-rounded person now in the paranormal field, which I wasn't before. I was just Joe Punter that was sensitive.
Mm.
So I've had a few years now to sort of hone the craft, shall we say, and I ain't looked back. And this, my page and the blogging, you know, it's not blogging, is it? What do they call it? See, I'm a pudding when it comes to tech. Podcasting, that's it.
Podcasting.
It's quite recent for me. I didn't do it before. There's another lady that does it, and she introduced me, and I've been working with Ian ever since. And then Nettie come along, and we carried the podcasting on. But it's the latest string to me bow because I've never done it before. I didn't know what it were about, and as I say, I'm not a techie. But my only tech side of it is my page, basically. And I didn't set that up. My son set it up for me, and all I do is run it. But from nothing, I've ended up with nearly 1,200 members. So not doing bad. Not doing bad for a little old me. And I don't know about everybody else. Everybody uses the page and does it differently, but we're all in that field. So this is what I call para-unity for me. It's getting on with people and not necessarily sharing the videos and the info and this and that. He's talking. He's being able to share that way.
Yeah.
Experiences. If we've been to a certain place and we're at different times, what did you get from it? You know, and I'll say what I got from it. That's my idea of para-unity. But I'll give somebody else a chance to talk, and then I'll mention another couple of places where we've got evidence from. So, does anybody else want to chip in?
Chip in. Yeah, I mean, what can I say? Apart from growing up in a haunted house and then spending many years trying to ignore it, and having a bike accident where stuff came back, and then I decided to research. And after years of researching, I started doing private cases. And been doing it ever since. And it's been best part of 30 years now. And quite a lot of happy clients later. I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
Why?
That's
Because I'm completely balmy, but there you go. I've got myself in some crazy situations.
yeah, we all live.
Metal ones. Yeah, I'll get a lot of them from my day job and my fingers usually. Metal chips. But yeah, I mean, people do say to me, "How do you do what you do?" And I mainly it's a nice. It's almost an adrenaline buzz from knowing that you've helped someone out. It's and you've resolved the situation in their house. And it's. I remember, in the early days, I always used to come out quite excited that we'd achieved something, and that's what keeps you going back, keeps you doing it, and for no other reason apart from that, really.
It's not just an hobby, is it? It's something that you do to get something else out of it as well, and it's not just for yourself; it's for other people.
Well, I never got into the field for myself. It was all, after what me and my family went through, it was a case of, well, there's not many people to turn to. So let's give them someone to turn to,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
that's where it started. But
I started years ago as a kid, and my way into it was scaring my mates after death with,
Nice of you,
with, with yeah, well, with the little bits of ability that I got, and I can. It's a fact that the mind is a powerful thing. We all know that it's a fantastic computer in itself, and the power of suggestion. I learned that early doers, and I was a bit naughty because I used the power of suggestion to scare the shit out of them. I.e., getting them to sit round in a circle in pitch black in the middle of a kitchen, staring at a light shade. And as we all know, these days, that if you stare at it long enough, it starts to move. Um, But it's not the light shade that's moving 9 times out of 10. It's you, because you've been sat staring that long. You
Yeah.
start to move, you start to sway. And
Yeah.
even though you don't realize it, but that obviously plays on your eyes. So it makes it look like it's moving. And I used to do that. I had one kid that just jumped up and shot straight out the house and ran home. And I didn't see him for months. Oh, I'm wicked. But yeah, that sort of thing. But and like I said, later on,
Rob,
evening, Robert, late as usual, naughty boy.
I never used to have to scare my mates. I just invite them around the house, and the ghost, the ghost would do something would
Yeah,
happen.
but it's like living with Casper, isn't it?
Well, yeah, noisy Casper. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
We regularly had heavy footsteps going up the stairs, and people standing there used to they'd look at the stairs, and you could see their face just drop because it's as clear as a bell. Someone's walking up the stairs, but there ain't no one there.
Robert says it's you people. You're getting early. No, it's 7 o'clock on a Sunday. Robert,
on a Sunday.
Not 8.
But yeah, I know what you're saying. It's weird, isn't it? Well, I'm saying why do we say weird? It's not. It's not to us. It's normal. It's weird to some people.
Yeah,
that's what
yeah, we used to have an old lady. I kept when I was little, and we used to wear with a walking stick coming down the landing at night. Yeah. I mean, my mum had seen her. We hadn't, as kids, seen her, but we always heard. We were so terrified to go to the toilet at night because we had to go down a very long landing, and that's where she used to come tapping along.
I've got a similar one to that, actually. Our old next door neighbour, she was very old-fashioned in a way, and she used to come knocking at the door. We got a big glass panel door, frosted glass.
Thank you, William.
Well, that's good. That's good. At least we're coming to see the professionals. Yeah, we've got a big glass back door, frosted glass back door, and she used to come about 7 o'clock. That fine in summer because you could see her shoving her face up against window and tapping, saying good night.
Oh no!
But in the winter, her time didn't change. So when it started getting dark early and she's doing it, it used to shit you up sometimes. But I remember I found her. I was the one that found her when she passed away, bless her. Because she used to call every dinner time and do people's chores and errands during in my dinner break. And she was slumped in rocking chair. And rocking chair was still moving when I went in. But mouth was I'll never forget it because you don't, do you? She's just gone, and the mouth was wide open. And I tapped her to say, "Are you all right?" And she slumped outside, and that weren't nice at all. But it was some time later, and she used to shout because we were in a terrace row. So we had one bedroom, and next door neighbour had the other bedroom over the top of entry. Because there were an entry went up middle of our houses. And sometimes on a night when she were in bed, she'd shout good night again. She said, good night. You could hear her. And she wouldn't shut up until you answered her. And a few months had gone past. And I swear to God that I heard her shout, good night. And it weren't until 10 minutes later I thought, no, it can't be. She's passed away.
Hmm.
So, again, spirit. But you didn't, even though you're sensitive to spirit, you don't always. Good evening, Rita. Yeah,
I think
part-time again.
I think the funniest thing that other people used to experience at my old house was at the front of the building was what was an old. It was where they kept the horses and the coaches. So it was quite a long brick-built building with a metal roof, and a fruit machine company used to use it to store their fruit machines. But at night, on the odd occasion, you would hear horses walking across the gravel, and then, and people would just like, people would go, "What on earth was that?" And he goes, "Don't worry about it, it's the horses." And they look at you, and go, "What horses?"
Yeah.
Yeah, the ones that are no longer living. But yeah, it used to be very entertaining. People used to come round and the things that used to happen, and you'd see them leave with this complete mystified look on their face, trying to work it, but they just witnessed it.
We lived in one house. We lived in one house, and that was the weird. That's where the man in the wardrobe used to be. But there, my sister, she actually got chucked around downstairs.
Wow.
She actually left. And I can remember, if you were upstairs, you were fine. But I can remember sleeping downstairs on the settee, and all of a sudden at night, it's like all the air had gone out the room. And, but you couldn't move. It's like somebody was literally holding you down, but there's no air in the room. Get up and run to one door to try and open it. No, it's not happening. Run to the kitchen door to try and open that. No, can't get out. The only time it opened was when my mum heard me and came downstairs and opened the other side of that door.
Yeah.
And that started happening with that one when my mum had the house done up.
Yeah. It fascinates me, though, that there's three of us here, but us three are literally in a minority of people that can experience these things, hear them, smell them, see them. And when you try to share that with other people that are not sensitives, the feedback you get is sometimes it's not good, is it? You know what I mean? Because shut up, you idiot. You know, bloody nutter.
It's a good job that there's places where people can share it, though, isn't it?
It is.
You would generally think you were going mad.
Yeah, but for years there wasn't any of this. That's what I'm saying. Before mainstream TV, which that's the only thing I can praise the shows for, it made it mainstream. Yeah. It made it accessible and it made it possible to talk about it. Because if I'd have said some of these stories that we're sharing now when I were a kid, I'd have got ridiculed somewhat chronic. I really would. He's not. He's credible now. It wasn't. You couldn't talk about it. It was taboo.
No. Yeah. When I was a kid, we never spoke about it, but we had people come around and witness it. So it was, it's like we don't have to talk about it.
Exactly.
Yeah, they did, Robert.
Yeah, very much so. Which is why my team, I mean, everything with us is confidential because a lot of people are still worried about talking about it. So, you know, that's something we give all our clients. Whether they want to talk about it and make it public, that's completely up to them. And when they do, we're happy to, you know, like we've had a couple of my clients on the show and they're quite happy to talk about things. But, you know, it's confidential unless the client says otherwise. So,
yeah, I think you can liken it these days to what the recent trend is, which is called auditing. Public areas, you can't stop it. It's public knowledge. But in private residences, it's a different matter, and it's down to discretion and their choice. If you stood at a window on a public sidewalk looking through their window, you're fair game. So if you're doing a séance at a table and they see you, that's your fault because you didn't close the curtains.
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy, but that's the law. So you've got to try and work around it. And the amount of etiquette that's involved in paranormal, in your side of that, in what we do regarding public, it's crazy sometimes. Some of the obstacles you've got to pussyfoot round. But at the end of the day, it's because it's all about the client, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if they're a public figure, it makes it even harder.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes they don't want anyone to know, though. They don't even want the neighbours to know. They don't want anyone to know.
Yeah,
No,
I mean, I've not investigated celebrities' houses, but I have given a few celebrities advice on what they're dealing with, and I will never pass those details on.
No.
But,
exactly. But the thing is, as I say, the law is the law at the end of the day. And if it's public and if it's a public area and stuff happens, you cannot stop it getting out. That's the problem. It's a nightmare sometimes. If it's private, you've got a chance. But even then, if somebody's looking from a public area, there's nothing you can do. You're the one that's responsible for keeping it secret.
yeah.
It's a nightmare sometimes. I mean, I did a case in a chip shop. Basically, the living quarters was smack outside of the chip shop. Part of it was what would have been the living room was a dining area, for example. You got your normal chippy bar and cooking area just as you walked into the door, just like any other chip shop. But if you carried on to the right, or straight forward, should I say, you'd have a dining area and a kitchenette at back, which was living quarters, classed as living quarters, as well as a dining area. If you wanted full privacy, you've got to go upstairs. The actual living quarters were upstairs, and we investigated the lot. And every time, because the chippy were a going concern, every time we came downstairs with a camera and wherever, we were fair game. What's going off? So if you're trying to record and there's punters stood up in front of fryers, what's going off? What they're doing? Trying to do a video, and you're having to interrupt, trying to explain to people. Some of them didn't like it. But and some of them were intrigued and they wanted to stay, they wanted to be in film. So it's a nightmare. Absolute nightmare.
William
so then
says
editing. Go on.
William said that there are no regulation in the paranormal world, and there should be. Yeah.
Yeah, many of us in the field agree with that. But in the meanwhile, the genuine of us, we tend to follow a code of ethics, which is the best you can do these days.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, there's a lot out there that don't. So
Exactly. So I always, like Ian, we have a discussion first before anything else with the client and say what they're happy with and what they're not happy with, and we try to abide by it. As I've just mentioned with that chip shop, it was very, very awkward. We could control everything as soon as we got halfway upstairs, but we couldn't control everything downstairs, and we had to do a comprehensive investigation because a lot of the activity was in the kitchenette, which was in the dining area, which the public can access.
Yeah.
So it weren't until the place shut on an evening, which were gone 10:30, that we'd got the place to ourselves. And there were people then, because they knew something was going off, they were hanging around. They're still nosing through window and one thing or another. We had to put a petition up in, and so it is logistically a nightmare sometimes. But that was just one. That's just one of a few. We resolved it in the end, and it was surprising. It was a surprising result.
I've always fancied doing a pub, not an old pub, just a normal pub, just to see if like the people that used to go in there, on a regular basis, like it was where they spent all the time, just to see if they congregate back together.
From my experience, yes, they do.
I would love to
again,
find that out.
It's only certain types of establishment as well. People that have normally been allowed a tab, and things like that. Yeah, because they will go in there and say they'll have probably no more than 4 pints, but they're in there all night and first to go in and at last to leave. It's usually a little click in corner as well. If there's a snug or a fire, that's where they tend to congregate, and they'll have games of cards and dominoes.
Yeah, that's where they went to do all that kind of thing. Yeah. William, is there any regulation there? Would hardly be any investigation teams around. Most would go out if business straight away. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you had, it's you'd still get events, etc., but as for serious investigating, because to be regulated, any fakery would go out the window.
Yeah.
Well,
the legislation that I would like to see is simply that, but it's policing it. It's like a lot of things. What's that?
Was Robert being rude?
Yeah, well,
William's very right. I mean, it's
the thing I'd like to see is
Robert wants to know if the fish got battered. Yeah. All right, good night.
Absolutely, yeah. And I got free fish and chips and curry sauce. There you go. It was massive. And I weren't going to have any at first. We're being diabetic, but I waited, and there was some left. So I had my insulin and sat down in that dining place and scoffed my face. Before we went back upstairs to finish the investigation, where it started to kick off. Was a very good investigation. Anyway, what I would like to see is a clear-cut difference between entertainment and investigations, and private investigations, because they are totally different as well. And I would like to see that distinction, because there's too many playing at it. There's too many things. They are fantastic investigators from watching the two mainstream TV shows, which they've been mentioned to death, so I'm not going to say. Why? There should be workshops. We used to do them when we first started. We'd do workshops. We'd do, like there's a clairvoyant evening or mediumship, and circles. You could go to you still can go to a spiritualist church and join a circle. It's a development thing. That I think is good. It's good for development, but there should be also workshops for using equipment, how to use it, when's best to use it, when to change things up due to frequencies and atmosphere and everything. Because it's all an art. It's not just something that you can rack up to and just do it. You can't. That's rubbish.
Robert said they call it for entertainment.
Well, exactly. And that's good. That's fine if that's what you want. This is what I'm saying. But there should be a distinction. There should be. I mean, a lot of TV shows, they say, for entertainment purposes only. Now, we know the reason why. Some of them do it. A lot of them are entertainers. So that's fine. But some have to do it for insurance purposes. And I think there should be a different way to do it. They really should, because everybody started with saying brush that way, and they shouldn't be. There is some good investigators out there that are on TV, but there's also some crap ones. But they're good entertainers. They are good entertainers. So, there should be a distinction.
Like you say, the differentials for private cases. I mean, there's a lot of investigators out there that seem to think they've done a few ghost hunts and they can go and investigate someone's house. It's a whole different ball game.
Correct.
Because when you go to a public place and investigate, you go home in the evening, that's the end of it.
Yeah.
But when you're dealing with a private case, there's not an end to it till you resolve the problem, and you have to keep going back until you resolve it. And you can't just walk away from a private case. You can't go in, because things will kick off. At some point in that investigation, things will kick off, and you can't walk away and leave the clients to deal with it. So, but we've had cases where we've had to go in because somebody's gone in and done exactly that. They've gone in, stirred it all up, and then walked away.
Yeah, exactly.
William says anything on TV is called entertainment, except for the news channels. Well, that's debatable in itself.
Well, yeah.
It is.
That should have an entertainment logo as well.
Yeah. I've seen some on TV that are really good investigators, but they have to call it entertainment for insurance purposes, which for me, it shouldn't be like that. You should be able to insure for unforeseen things in that world, in paranormal world, just like anything else. A lot of insurance is because it's unforeseen circumstances. That's why it's there, i.e. car insurance in case of accident.
Yeah.
It should be something similar, because you don't know what's going to happen. It's unforeseen, i.e. spirit. But
you'll find Robert's question. You'll find that public liability insurance is what people have. You'll find that events, when you go to public events, whoever's organising it will do that, and they usually have to cover 5 million. Whereas everything else, whatever coverage you think, hopefully my team members aren't going to go into a house and cause more than £1 million worth of damage, because we don't tend to break things.
But, exactly.
There's always that possibility of knocking a vase over or something. But
I mean, I used to be a walk leader for Primary Care Trust, and I used to work with a group called Sure Start, taking kids out and adults walking. I had to do the walk twice because I had to risk assess it. So any roots or anything that was stuck up out of the ground, I got to plan it and make every single walker aware of it to cover us for his insurance, because you're only taking people for a walk, but that is literally what you have to do by law. Not many people do it, but you should.
Yeah.
Because you can't get insured otherwise, unless you risk assess it. What I'd like to see is something similar to a certificate for customer service, for example. Customer service is a good qualification to have in our field. I would say that'd be a good starter, because it learns people how to react, how to deal with the other members of public. It's a basic input, you know what I mean? You can go on to do other qualifications, but for me, it would fit.
I mean, the problem with regulating the field is like, for me, private case. So we're confidential. So how do you get people to review you? I mean, but a lot of our cases are word of mouth. So the word about us, it goes around, and that's how we get other cases. But as far as getting a rating or reviews it's not going to happen, is it, really?
But eventually, I imagine that it would come in. It's same as ours. Just a minute. Well, it's a long one, that, so I'll just finish what I'm saying.
Yeah.
As I say, customer service covers a lot of it, but the simple reason is it's that insurance side of things. It covers a lot of things, just customer service. But when you, like you say, I had to do risk assessments for holistic therapies, for example. I mean, all I was doing was massaging an OD's foot or hand. Now, what's risky about that? You may think. Well, I had to go through a list of things before I started, which included: have you got any allergies? Is your skin likely to split? Oh man, some of the questions on there just to cover me for insurance. So, but it was regulated, and it is starting to be regulated, and that's holistic therapies because it's not mainstream.
Yeah.
And you're not getting a qualification from the government. You're getting a qualification from somebody off the street, basically. You have to regulate it, and they're starting to do that. The problem comes in then, which is a good thing for me to some extent, but they need to sort it out money-wise, is how much of an insurance policy do you need? It's just astronomical because it's a blanket, isn't it? Like you said, 5 million or something. But that covers everybody in the field, where certain things shouldn't need that much attention. So it needs sorting out. Right, go on, what we got?
Yeah, William says, in this day and age, people can claim to be anyone they want to be and without the proper credentials. MH exploited a loophole in television and entertainment where they can claim that something is real because they have witnessed it themselves and call themselves expert in the field, even though there are no real experts, just people claiming to be experts. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of this expert calling, I mean, you get, there are experts in the field, but in a particular area of the field. But as an expert in the paranormal, there's no such thing exists because you can't prove it.
No.
But it's the production companies that like to use the word, because I know people who have been on the TV shows, and it's the production companies that label them an expert because it makes their program sound better.
Correct.
So the people concerned don't call themselves experts, but the production company decides to. And the problem with MH is, I mean, they self-proclaimed themselves the king and queen of the paranormal, which is and I know, I think it was the last series they had on the TV. They actually stated they were the original ghost hunters in the UK. Well, they weren't, because there's Harry Price, Peter Underwood,
Harry Price, yeah.
Andrew Green. So they didn't exist then. And there were plenty more besides them three. So to make a claim like that.
Yeah. William says, a long time ago, you wouldn't need any qualifications in anything spiritual or paranormal because it wasn't proven. No, it's still not proven.
It's still the same today. But you mentioned that you started it, Narian, so it's your fault. You mentioned a particular group. You mentioned a particular group. Well, I know for a fact that the problem is
William did.
Well, they travel around country.
Hi, William.
They travel around country, right? They travel around country. Their research, 90% of it back in day, I don't know if it's still the same, but back in day, it came from local paranormal groups. And they took a story from a local paranormal group and ran with it. Is that research?
No.
Is that their research?
That's getting someone else to do the research.
Yeah.
So,
Right, we've got 5 minutes if Ian wants to
oh my God.
Tell us about
wow. Oh, what, my little incident at home
tonight?
Yeah,
I popped out when I came home today. I came home to a very strong smell of sulphur in the house, which was particularly unusual. And as I investigated, it was obvious there was a presence in the house. And after talking to these guys, I decided to go and do an EVP session, and I got some quite interesting responses. Although when I sent them to these guys, it's not on the recording. But as I proved earlier, I've played it to them over my microphone, and they could hear it.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Well, it were on here. It were on stream. But before we went live, and I could hear it then. But
Yeah.
I sent you the original recording straight off my phone, and there's nothing on there.
Yeah,
I've got it, and it's clear as a bell on my phone.
It's like EVP, so one can pick up, one can't.
Yeah, but I've sent you a proper recording. It's not like I've sent you it from the device it was done on. This is bizarre, but
that's the way it works. As I say, I mean, I was mentioning earlier, I video everything, but sometimes I can see it, and my camera doesn't, and vice versa. Sometimes my camera sees it, and I don't. It's really odd how things work, which only again seems to prove our theory here that it's governed by frequency.
Yeah, governed by frequency and governed by them. If they don't want other people to hear what you've recorded,
yeah.
Obviously, sending the recording to you is obviously not what they wanted. But there you go.
Robert said they're making a remake of Frankenstein, covered part of Edinburgh with a foot of topsail to make it look early Victorian. Oh, look. Eric, where have you been?
Oh my God. Yeah, that's a late. See, that's another one. Eric thought it were 8 o'clock. I'm guaranteeing that he thought it were 8 o'clock, and it's not.
No, not
7 o'clock on Sunday.
Yeah. Rita knew it wasn't 8 o'clock because she was in.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. What you been doing, Eric? Have you been chip pan on? You've been making chips.
You've been busy.
Yeah, I would let you hear it, Eric, but the chances are I'll send you the recordings and you won't hear nothing because these guys didn't until I actually played it over the microphone. But
we could invite him in to hear yours if you want. After the show, or if he wants.
But well, you could do. But it'll have to be quick because I'll have to go and make me dinner.
Yeah, you've got to go, haven't you? Yeah.
But it's a very strange day I've had. But I even sent the recordings to my wife and she couldn't hear them either.
Exactly, which is a weird one, isn't it? Well, I keep saying weird, but it's not. It's not weird.
Yeah, I can't. I'll send them to you after the show, Eric. You won't hear them.
Won't hear them, no. No. But you never know, though, he might. You just...
Yeah. It's same as that picture of mine, it's just gone. It's disappeared. Can't use it.
It's not gone, disappeared. Yeah, I couldn't get it on. It would not.
I've had that with pictures before. I took photos years ago, and it was at someone's wedding where there was two figures floating around in the background behind them, and we kept talking about it, and then it must have been about 2 or 3 years later. They said, "Oh, have you still got that photo?" So I went to show them, and there was nothing in the bloody picture.
Yeah.
And you think, where's it gone?
Yeah.
It's done.
The weirdest one that I've ever done, weirdest one is I had a fish tank, and I just literally coloured this screen at back. You have a picture at back at fish tank, or we used to, and I just coloured it all in and plastered it at back at tank. It were all ready to accept fish, and I took this photo of the tank, and when I looked back at it, there were several demonic faces in the picture. But in one of them, this face was sideways on. This, bear in mind, is a still picture. But that face, when you looked at it, it turned to look at you. That was the freakiest thing I have ever seen on a still photo. And this face went from sideways on it. Wait a minute. It went, ooh.
Yeah, the freakiest picture I've ever taken. We were at a client's house, and I had a medium on FaceTime. He said, "Oh, can you take a picture of the client? I just want to see anything around there." So I took a picture, and I did set the picture, and then I was looking at it, and I thought, oh, "Hang on a minute, there was a child's head, a child's face and head in the mirror, which effectively they'd have been stood on the sofa in front of the mirror to have a reflection there, but there was no child.
We're on 8 o'clock.
There were no children in the house, so
We've got to 8 o'clock, so we're gonna have to say
goodbye.
someone on after us, so we've got to go.
Yes, unfortunately. Goodbye, farewell.
Goodbye,
Bye.
You're a naughty boy, Robert. That's what that is.
guys.